Rural Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com. Welcome to another half hour of Rural Heritage on RFD TV. Today we're spending some time at the Illinois Rural Heritage Museum, where Charlie and Mary Greer took us on a tour. We spent several hours looking at many of the well-crafted and expertly displayed exhibits at the museum, but only have time to show you a few during this episode. We'll concentrate on some of the special exhibits they've put together to show daily life during the early part of the last century. In later episodes, we'll cover the great collection of vintage tractors and other farm field equipment.
This is the Illinois Rural Heritage Museum in Pinkneyville, Illinois. We started out with this barn. We opened it up in 2011 that was built in 2010. The basic mission of the museum, as you see when you go through it, it's not just a tractor museum. We have household items and the main part of it is country living in small town and small farming communities around it to educate the people, the younger generations, of how it used to be, and for the older people to reminisce the way it used to be. We grow every year. Most of our displays in here are on loan from other people. We do own some of the stuff, but the majority is on loan from other people. We were just taught different when we was raised than what the generation is nowadays. A lot of our equipment we have back here, people look at it, well, you got a pulley with a belt on it, no guards or nothing on it. You talk about how dangerous it was. When we was raised up, we was taught to respect that, and you just stayed away from it. You knew not to stick your hand. You didn't say, hey, why's that turning, and stick your finger at it, which you have kids nowadays that don't know any different. They see people on television get knocked down and beat up real bad, and next thing you know, they're running around, nothing wrong with them, and they think, well, it can't happen. If it happens, I'll be all right. This here is garden plows, a plow that you would have used with a horse to plow garden with. This here is actually a corn planter that you would have planted out in the field, but you'd been planting in the spring of the year. Corn drill, Indiana called them corn drills. This was built over in Indiana originally. They called it, it's a one-row Hoosier corn drill. We called them corn planters, which right. There's not that much difference. Right. But this is where you put your seed in it. It's got little holes in there that turns the seed around to drop it out. And on the other side, there was a gear that changed the speed of how thick you planted. Down on the other end, there's what they call a hillside plow. It's pretty rare. It's got a walking beam underneath of it where you can change it. You can turn it and flip it over and plow going back the same way.
And that's a Vulcan, isn't it?
It's a Vulcan. According to auctioneers, it's fairly rare. This here garden plow here, we haven't decided for sure whether it was homemade or if it's a kit. The family that it come from was the older generations had it. They were went back and forth to South Africa as missionaries and helped down there for close to 40 years. And this was their garden plow. We have no idea whether this was one they had down there, whether they took it back and forth, or it has nothing to do with it. This one here, you've got your plow attachment, then you've got your cultivator attachment, and you got your chisel attachments that goes with this one here. Most garden plows, when you find them at an auction, they don't have that with them because that's over in the trash barrel somewhere and that. The little one on this end down here is a garden cedar. It can either fasten on a garden plow or you can put a handle on it and use it. When you push it in the soil, it turns it to drop the seeds out. Wow. And it's got settings up there that you can go from onions to lettuce. You just raise this and it changes with the opening. Now you can buy these nowadays made out of plastic. This one here was made in 1914.
Helen Meyer, which is one of our directors, helped put this display up. She has a lot of collections of older things. So she's a good one to go to for when we want to put exhibits up. This is something she bought in that I hadn't seen before. The families would have a crock that had salt in it, sitting on their shelf with the rest of their stuff, which that's a unique item.
It is.
Helen was told that these jars with the grid on it had peanut butter in them back in the days. That's how the jars of peanut butter first come out in. Then we have a collection of all ages of jars, some newer than other ones. Then we have our cookbooks, our canning cookbooks. Of course, this in here is a new one.
Sure.
This here is kind of a different jar. Alton, Illinois had a vinegar factory, and this jar had vinegar in it, and it come from Alton.
And these would be to take the jars out of the
That's
bath?
to take the jars out. This is a rather old one.
Yeah.
These are our little funnels that you would put down in the jar. Put your food in them to get in the jar. This is a glass, one of them, which is kind of different.
Yeah.
I don't like to interrupt her, but the jars like this that peanut butter come in, the reason they made them this way, because you could reuse that then for a canning jar. Or nowadays you get something, you just throw it away.
Exactly.
Back then you could reuse the jars.
Yep.
Then we have the aprons here, which was a common thing for the housewives to wear. And they would use the aprons. If company come, they would slip the apron off so they had a clean dress on. If they needed to wipe a child's tears, they would use the edge of the apron. An apron has a lot of uses, and that is a thing of the past. This is on loan from Jane Templeton from 𝗬𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃. Her father was a doctor on the square in Pinkneyville. Dr. Templeton was also on This Is Your Life. And I don't know how many people remember what This Is Your Life was about, but people from Pinkneyville was taken out to California and they did the show. Jane Templeton had polio when she was a child, so she walked with braces back. She's done real good right now. But the desk and all that is Dr. Templeton's. This is a nurse's uniform that belongs to 𝗰𝗵𝗆 Moore. She went to Deaconess. Back then you wore the white aprons, the hat. Now they wear scrubs and you don't know which one's the nurse and which one's the cleaning lady.
Bill Rowe was a local dentist here in town. He's just set this display up for us. It's actually, his grandfather was a dentist, and 90% of this items in here is out of his grandfather's dental office. They had the pedal drill that you pedaled with your foot that turned the drill bit to drill the tooth. The reason we've got two of them in here, one's left foot and one's right foot. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I didn't.
This is our general store. that Charlie and I actually put the boards up because we wanted the general store to be separate from the rest of the museum. So we designed this. Our cabinets, these over here came from the Hiller drugstore, and these over here came from Stotler drugstore. So we've got combined. This here had the lights in it, which would have been controlled by electricity.
Right.
The counter came from a filling station that was in DuQuoin. It was refinished.
It was actually an oil counter
Okay.
where they sold oil.
Sure.
It's pretty fancy for that, but it's lined with metal.
Huh.
It's got lined metal in it, so the
Yeah.
oil is where they kept the oil. That we can just about talk about every item there. You'd be here for 2 days.
Yes, sir.
It's just items that you could have bought in a general store.
Yep.
Back. We tell the younger generation this is a Walmart store.
Right.
Got bits for the horses.
Yep.
You had to have different size bits and different style of bits for different horses.
This is a post office because the gentleman that built it said back in the day, the general store guy would take his store hat off and put on a postman hat and get your mail out of the post office at the general store. So Bill Schroeder built this for us.
His father run a general store back in the 1800s. It's got a latch from the inside
Okay.
because
You could see,
People
you could
like me
see.
pulling it open all the time.
well,
Yeah.
see, it's unlatched now. It'll open. You get kids that open it, one will go in there and the other will hold the door shut.
Of course.
Got your corn huskers down here that you use for picking corn.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yep.
They fasten on your hand for stripping the shucks off. And then these other ones are what they call shucking pegs. You just had a peg to open the shuck up so you could pull it off.
Yeah.
Now, when I was growing up, we didn't use these. We jerked the ear off because we wanted the shucks ground in with the corn to feed the cows.
Right.
Well, that was a waste just to leave that out in the field.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
The schoolroom, actually those desks that I went to school in looked just like that till I got out of the 8th grade. This desk here is out of the Kutztown School, and the year before I went to school, I had 4 older brothers and sisters. Well, I went to school with them, and there's a good chance I sat in this seat whenever I was little, because I went to 1st grade at Kutztown School.
Okay.
Before that, I sat in every chair in the school. Wherever student wasn't there, I'd sit in that for that day.
Where's the bell from?
The bell is supposed to be out of one of the Pinkneyville schools. For years, it sat in the hallway of the junior high building. And when they built a new junior high, they put it in a storage shed. I found out it was out there, and I done a little talk around and got them to let me bring it out here and save it. It was in that frame, but it was pretty bad shape. I just rebuilt the frame. If the big, I don't know if it's gonna, if the big dong hits, it's too loud. So I put a little hammer on there so kids could ring a school bell.
You bet.
Well, that's a side saddle there.
Yep.
From back in the 1800s. It's the oldest side saddle we've got. But the buggy used to be Doc Hiller's buggy. The Lose family bought it from their auction, and they made a pony buggy out of it for their kids. The other one back there is what they call the doctor's buggy. The big land roller come out of the 𝗂𝗯𝗃 River bottoms. It was been in the family before we got it 15 years, 10 years ago, I guess. It'd been in the family over 100 years.
Wow.
So it's from the mid to early 1800s. Down there in the gumbo, when you plowed with a walking plow behind a horse, By the time you made around, the sun shined on the ground and it was a big dirt clod. And that's what they used this to bust the clods up so they could get a better seed bed. This jack I've got had set in here, I had it over there by the thrash machine. Kids play with it and I'm afraid they'll get their fingers hurt. This is actually, they call them railroad jacks, but this here was a long time before the railroad. It's a thrash machine jack. You'd use it to level your thrash machine with whenever you pulled your thrash machine in and stopped it. And what kids don't know is when you pull back on that, you got to have a hold of that to let it back down.
Sure. right.
And a gentleman from east of town out here built this years ago. The big stone and the wooden frame is original. He added these other stones on it and he'd bring it to the Thrashman show, run it with a hit and miss engine to show people the different speeds you wanted to run the stone for, so a knife, an axe, a hatchet, different types of metal. And he'd sit there all day long. Some people go to the flea market and buy something, bring it down there and watch him sharpen it. And that is for sharpening the real type lawnmowers.
Yeah.
That came out of a blacksmith shop probably down in Chester. Our oldest son found it sitting down there in the yard. The lady was waiting on the trash guy to haul it off. And he got it, didn't know what it was when he got it, but he knew it was an old piece of equipment. Well, on the side of it, it says on there, it's got a plaque on Ideal Lawnmower. This here is a treadmill. They made these big that you could use for horses and that, but this one here is more, it says dog on it. You could use dog or sheep in it, and when they walked, it'd turn the shaft, which got a pulley on this side, and you could run your wash machine with it, or water pump, or this one here picture shows it churning butter, or cream separator. That's a cream separator there.
Right. Yep.
But you could use it to run just about anything. This come before the gasoline motor.
Right.
And then the electric motor took their places. This here come out of actually Wisconsin. We got it from Arkansas. You put this in your cow trough, and you had a stovepipe that come up out of here, and you build a fire in this to keep your cattle water from freezing in the wintertime. It's a Cowboy brand. But that was heavy enough, it's cast iron, it's heavy enough it'd set in a tank of water.
Yeah.
And then you'd build your fire in it to keep your... This is a thrash machine I was telling you about earlier. I haven't got it all cleaned out because I need somebody that I don't want to bust a wood to get up there to get it. But I did have this running enough to clean most of the trash out of it. But it looks just like a combine did up till they come out with rotor combines. The only thing is this is made out of wood and not metal and plastic.
Yeah.
It's got your chaffer, your sieves, your walkers, and everything just like a modern combine.
And what brand is this?
Keck and Gunnerman.
Okay.
It's on the side there.
Made over in Indiana.
Yeah. That's a big one for a wooden
It was the largest wooden one they made.
Yeah, I've never seen a wooden one that big.
And from what I can find out, in 1906 they put more metal in them. That's where he say this from 1895 to 1905. Now 1910 and 11, what they call the metal era, is when they started making them out of metal, galvanized sides. This sat in the barn before I got it long enough. It was sunk down in the dirt so far these boxes was almost on the ground.
No kidding.
I had to dig trenches to pull it out so I wouldn't bust it.
I'll be darned.
I pulled that 7 miles to town with a tractor.
Through the back.
2.5, 3 mile an hour. So I don't know how long this will be in here, whether they'll take it out next year to rebuild it or what, but it's on loan. What's nice about this one, when people come in here, most people don't know how a steam engine works.
Right.
You build a fire in the boiler, under the boiler, to boil the water. Well, you've got a flue back there, a damper that you open so that the air comes through to go up the stack to make your fire burn. Well, whenever you get the steam engine running, you have to shut your damper off because your steam that discharges from the engine comes through here, preheats what water that you're going to put back in the engine, and whenever it comes through there, it blows up the stack through a pipe. So whenever you hear a steam engine chugging, every time that cylinder gets done with the steam, it blows it out here and up the exhaust, and that makes a chug sound. It's pulling more air through, so the harder you run a steam engine, the hotter the fire is going to get because the more draft you've got. But that's the economical way they run. Most people have no idea what that is. And this here is just called a Snoke Box on the front. The 110s was air. They had power steering on them.
Okay.
They had a steam motor here that turned on the 110s. So you couldn't guide one of them if you didn't have steam pressure.
Okay.
But these here is manual. And on the old Titan, it's the same way. It takes about 35, 40 rounds on this steering wheel to make it turn all the way one way. And then to bring it back center, it takes that many to take it the other way. So if you're going this way and want to go all the way that way, you got to turn that steering wheel over 80 times to get to turn around the other way.
It's like driving a boat.
Yeah.
You got to know where you're going to go before you go there.
You sight, when you're on it, you really can't see your front wheels. You got one little spot down through here, you can see your front wheel.
Okay, sure.
Down through here.
Yeah, okay.
But you sighted with your smokestack.
Okay.
You would see what you was wanting to go to, either a quarter mile down the field or 30 feet in front of you.
Yeah, yeah.
You'd turn the smokestack to aim at that. And that's how you would. If you'd wait until you thought you was going to have to turn, it was too late.
The Illinois Rural Heritage Museum is located in southern Illinois in the town of Pinkneyville. Admission is free and the museum is open Thursday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sundays, 1 to 5 p.m. This program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027 or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by 𝗰𝗵𝆃 Press, which also offers a complete line of back-to-the-land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.